And start the recording. So brothers and sisters, again, thank you very much for joining us. A couple of weeks ago, several attendees pinged me after the event and asked about recording these experiences so that they could go back as a matter of reference. So what I quickly want to do is share my screen with you and show you the Carmichael Steak YouTube channel. And of course I say that and it went away. So hold on one second. I'm a bit out of the area, and so sometimes the technology is not as awesome. But you should also be seeing right now up on your screen the Carmichael Steak Emergency Preparedness and Self-Reliance webinars. That is a YouTube channel that's set up to archive all of these. And what I'm simply going to do is I'm post this address in the chat functions. What I would suggest you do is take it off of the chat as soon as I post it up there and just put it over, save the site, but it should look like this. And as is mentioned, we've started to archive these and this one obviously will go up. It takes about an hour after I get the download from the cloud. I send it over to Brother Wozniak, and within a day or so, we will then have it posted up on the channel. So before we even started, and typically, if you're not familiar with YouTube, you just type in your Google search YouTube and up it will come. And then you type in the Carmichael Steak Emergency Preparedness and it will pull that channel up. And then you can watch these fairly easily. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that if in fact you can't be here, they are being archived in this spot for everyone. And so I'm going to stop sharing at that point. And then I'm going to, like I mentioned, I'm going to put that in there. You should all see it in the chat now. So if you just want to highlight that and then put it over on the side or open up another tab on your computer or laptop or phone or horseshoe or whatever you're using to gain access. And that will give you the spot. And if you don't remember it, go ahead and send me an email and I will send that link directly to you. Does that make sense? Are there any questions about that? Because I know there was some concern about where these were going and some folks wanted to share it with their families, which we think is an especially great idea when you have, say, a family home evening or something like that. Okay. Anybody have any questions? By the way, if you do have a question at the bottom of Zoom, what you can simply do is hit on the reactions tab and you'll see, for instance, those reaction tabs will show on the screen. And that's a really great way to play with this because it makes it much easier on my side to see who has a question for those of you that would like to ask a guest or myself a question. So with that, I have no one asking or wanting to know anything more. So what I'd like to do is start right off. You know, these things go pretty quick, don't they? So we want to make sure we spend as much time as we can with our special guest. And so Sister Klein, I am going to read right off of the email you sent me, and there may be some edits that happen. So be careful with that. All right, folks, we're very blessed to have in our presence this afternoon Sister Kelly Klein. She is a 39-year-old mother. She is a business owner, a wife, and formerly, her words, not mine, a former unhealthy person. But as is key to today's topic, through self-discipline, she took, or a lack of self-discipline, she took herself from tipping the scales at over a decent amount of weight to now a size 6 through self-discipline and other things that she's going to talk about today. Probably most impressive at this point on this topic, and she's got a lot of things to be impressed about, but she has herself completed 10 marathons, a half and a full Ironman. And no, she did not drive around as a support vehicle. She actually participated as a participant. And if you know anything about those races, those are quite rigorous. You swim, you ride a bike, and then eventually you do marathon running, which just thinking about it makes me tired. And she's done many other distance running events. So today she considers herself, instead of a 30, in place of, or in addition to a 39-year-old mother, she also considers herself a long distance endurance athlete. So I've watched Kelly's posts for quite a while, and she's either on a bike or chainsaw or something. She's pretty impressive in the Facebook space. And so when we put together these lists of topics in our emergency preparedness self-reliance, I immediately thought of Kelly as having significant background and could speak from a place of authority when it came to this concept of healthy living. And we all, even if we are endurance runners, we can either start or maintain a healthier lifestyle, which I think is super important for all of us. So without any further ado, and now that I've thoroughly embarrassed her, because I said she was older than she really is, Kelly, I'm going to turn the time over to you. And thank you again for agreeing to participate in this podcast.
I appreciate you attempting to edit my intro, Grant, but I think it is important that people do know I will be 49 this weekend. And so the difference of having healthy lifestyle or losing weight when you are 38 compared to 48 is a world of difference. And so do know I am getting close to 50.
Good.
And yes, I was 210 pounds. I am 5'5", so that's kind of gives you an idea of where I was at compared to, I hover around the high 130s now, and I have sustained a size 6 for many, many years. So I was excited when Grant asked me, well, first he asked me if I would be interested in doing a podcast, and he immediately said about living a healthy lifestyle. I am passionate about living a healthy lifestyle because, yes, I called myself an unhealthy person on the intro because it was more appropriate, but I was a fat girl. That's just all there was to it. There's always got to be the fat sister, and that was me. So I'm excited to share my journey with you. I can let you know what worked for me. May not work for everyone, but hopefully I can share some tidbits of something maybe you can incorporate in your life. So I wanted to actually start out with a scripture that I was going to end with, but I'm probably going to start it and end with it. So if you'll just hear me out for a minute. In 1 Corinthians 6:20, it says, "For ye are bought with a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's." So glorify God in your body. He's given us this body, which is our very own temple, and he asks us to take care of it, and which means a lot of things. You know, when we talk about a healthy lifestyle, well, what does that mean? It's different to everybody. Are you looking to lose weight? Are you looking to run a marathon? Are you looking to climb? Where'd you climb, Jen? Machu Picchu?
Hawaii Picchu.
Thank
Hawaii
you.
Picchu.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of different aspects of when you say a healthy lifestyle, what that means to everyone else, given where you are in life. So one of the main things back around 20 years ago when I lost the majority of my weights, people always asked, why did you start? So let me show you. You know, you love seeing on these weight loss commercials the before and after, and you would say, you know, is that the same person? And the after, how long ago was that after? So we're going to start with the before. Let me know if you can see my before. Is there? Okay. So that was me 20, 25 years ago. Obviously, I'm larger than I am now. I was over 200 pounds. Back in the day, we've got one more so you kind of get an idea. Hold on, I've got one more. This,
by the way, that's the best fire department in the community, just so you know, Kelly.
So you see my picture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was happy back then. I didn't realize that I weighed that much. We didn't own a scale. I was married to somebody that never expressed I was overweight or did not make me feel loved. I was. So I, for some weird reason, decided that I wanted to go in law enforcement. So I had to go take a physical abilities test. So if you've never done this for the Department of Corrections, the amount of resistance comes off of how much you weigh. So the first thing they make you do is get on a scale. Granted, I hadn't weighed myself in years. I had popped out 4 babies. I knew I gained weight. I didn't know how much. I would have guessed, I don't know, 170. It was 210. So of course I was in shock. And I had to do the first or second resistance exercise, failed. They sent me home packing. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, kind of defeated me. But so I figured after that, and I don't even know back then if it was because of that I decided, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. So some time passed and we had a couple over from the church over for dinner. And he knew, the husband of the couple knew that I was going through this Department of Corrections, trying to get a job thing. And he said, hey, how's it going? And I said, I failed the physical abilities test, so I'm just not going through it. He says, well, aren't you going back to do the test again? I go, no, I really am not interested in doing the department. He goes, but you failed that test. I go, yeah, I get it. I failed the test. And so to say the least, I was not happy that dinner. I don't know that we had them over again. So I left with a bad taste in my mouth at this brother of the church that was questioning me. Why in the world was I not going to go back and redo that test that I had so horribly failed? So I said, now I'm mad. All right, for him, that I really don't, care about. I was friends with the wife. I'm going to go back and do this test. Approved it. Him, but it was really myself. So I think I'd gotten down to 180. And to be honest, I can't remember back then what I did to be able to go back. I passed the test. It about killed me, but I did pass. And again, I did not take the job because I didn't want it to begin with, but I had to let this gentleman know that I passed the test. What now? So funny thing is, he never knew of this thing that happened, the conversation, until about 4 or 5 years ago when maybe 5, 6 years ago, I moved into this state and he came in our ward and sat down by me, realized he knew me from many years ago. And I reminded him about this conversation we had 20 years ago and what he started. So, and he was clueless. So that is what started the weight journey, was this test that I failed. A couple years later, I kept some of the weight off. I again decided I want to go do this law enforcement thing. So I went through all the interviews for the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Department. My husband and I lived down in Stockton. He was with the Department of Corrections down there, and went through the thing. They hired me and they were sponsoring me through the academy. Well, when I got the paperwork for the academy, it said that I had to be able to run 2 miles. I hate running. I despise it. I can't do it. I'm still overweight. And I'm thinking, well, I have to do something if I want to do this. I have to be able to get out there and run 2 miles. So I would head out a couple days a week. I knew that 1 circle around my house was 1/4 of a mile because I drove it. So I said, okay, I'm just going to do 2 circles, which is 1/2 a mile. So about 30 steps in, I died. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't believe I was even going to do this. There was no way I was ever going to be able to run 2 miles because I can't even get through 1/4 of a mile. So I figured, all right, each day I'm going to go out and kill myself. And every time that I went out, I went a little further. It may have been 1 step further, 1 crack in the pavement further, 1 light further, until I actually got 1 time around that circle of my house, which is 1/4 of a mile. And then it grew and grew and grew. So when I finally got to the 3-mile mark, I surpassed that 2 miles, by the way. I thought I won the lottery. So during this time, I had started watching more what I was eating, because to run and be heavy, they don't go together. It's not good. It's hard. Running is hard to begin with, but when you're a heavy runner, it makes it that much harder. So I had lost some weight, and I realized as I'm running this 2 and 3 miles that I'm losing more weight. And as I kept increasing the distance up to my 3 miles, I said, well, I'm an eater. I like to eat. That I could actually eat a little bit more because I was actually exercising, something that I really hadn't done in the past. Although I grew up with my mother being a walker, I really was not a runner. So I did get to the point of getting up to the 3 miles. And at the time, I decided that I would go ahead and sign up for a 5K race. I'd never raced before, but I said, well, I'm up to this point. Let me try this out. And I showed up in a cotton shirt with a long sleeve shirt underneath it. Foolish move. I didn't know any better. I did the race. I couldn't do the whole thing. I walked some of it. I was dying of heat. And at that point, when I realized that I could do the 5K, it doesn't stop there. And so I went further. So if I could start off with expressing my gratitude, I think, for the word of wisdom that we have in place through the Doctrine and Covenants. And I have made some notes here that the Lord promises us increased health, wisdom, and knowledge and protection to those who obey the word of wisdom. I mean, if you start with the basics, it's right there in the Doctrine and Covenants. And I believe it also mentions getting sleep. I cannot stress this enough, is getting enough sleep. First of all, you'll be awake less hours to eat, right? And in order to exercise, you definitely need your sleep. And to go along with that is stress levels. Stress levels will tank any possible weight loss journey that you're on. If you lead a stressful life, I suggest doing whatever you can to bring it down, which sometimes it's sleep. So also it states in the word of wisdom to eat your fruits and wholesome herbs, including vegetables, so fruits and vegetables, and eat meat sparingly, and eat grains such as wheat, rice, and oats. And granted, this was written way back when, it still is good for you today. They knew what they were talking about. So the only problem with the word of wisdom is that it doesn't mention how many chocolate chip cookies you can eat in a day. And that is where I come into play. So let's talk food. I mean, we're probably all foodies. That's why we got this predicament to begin with, I'm assuming. So if there's anything that I can stress most today is, let me go see if I can share my screen again. This is new to me, just so you know, this whole sharing screen thing. When my company, when COVID hit, my company didn't go remote. And so I didn't have to learn to do any of this stuff.
And Kelly, can I just warn you to tread tenderly as you talk about chocolate chip cookies?
It's my favorite.
It's like talking bad about the pioneers. I mean, there's things we don't talk about, you know, there's things. So just be careful. That's my counsel.
I gotcha. No, I love them. They are.
I'm fine if you want to talk about oatmeal cookies, but you start getting into the chocolate chip arena.
I have a sweet tooth. I'm a foodie in all things sweet. So can you guys, are you seeing a screen that shows on the top MyFitnessPal?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes.
Take a picture, screenshot, write this down. This is what has made my journey possible, is this website. It's free.
Is it, Kelly, is it myfitnesspal.com?
It is myfitnesspal.com.
Okay, so we can only see the home, you know, the homepage of the front page without the URL in it. So as soon as you stop sharing at some point, I'll grab that and put it in the chat function as well. But it's myfitnesspal.com, no spaces. And that is the website that she's showing right now.
So back years ago, when I'm gonna leave it up there for a minute, so if anyone wants to see that, I lived on this. And what is it? So it's an accountability tracker, pretty much. Everybody hates counting calories, but if you don't hold yourself accountable, you're not going to lose weight. And this definitely makes you realize, wow, how much am I eating? I mean, if you're like me, I will stand at the cupboard snacking, eating an entire meal's worth of calories before I even eat my meal. And so this definitely makes me accountable. The nice thing also about this website is you can add friends to it. So when you can log your weight, you log calories, you go in and you put your information in, and it will tell you how many calories you should be eating if you want to lose weight. So it's got me at about 1,300 calories. And so that's what I base my daily calorie count off of if I'm not training for a race, if I'm not cycling a lot. So if I'm just going to be a lazy bum for the day, 1,300 calories is kind of where I tend to try to be. And so when you log into this, you do count calories. And so if the counting calories is something you absolutely despise, of course, this website does not work for you. But if you're not a self-motivator and you need something that is right in your face, letting you know what you've eaten for that day and how many calories you have left, this is absolutely the best website that I could possibly share with you.
Kelly,
So
can I ask a question?
absolutely.
Okay, so thanks for that information. A couple of things come to mind. What happens if I'm not a big fan of computers and those kinds of things, or I don't know what an app is? How can I get access to this kind of tracking materials? Is there anything that I can print off and maybe do it by hand?
Well, Grant, I can only share what I know. And so because this is an app on my phone, it's with me 24/7. And so
Okay.
I imagine there's other different ways of calculating your calories. This is just the one that
Yeah.
I tend to go to free things. I like free things. And so if I can do it free, it's been immensely helpful. And I don't know, honestly, if I could have kept my weight off if I did not have this website.
So I think we can assume that most people have phones. They may just not understand how to gain access to an app. So if this is all foreign to you, I strongly encourage you to call your grandchildren, have them come over to the house to have a chocolate cookie, and to download the app on your phone, because then it makes it very, very easy, as Sister Klein just described. Kelly, I have another question for you. What happens if I've fallen off the healthy eating habit bandwagon?
Well, just like that bandwagon, the same thing as what happens if you fall off reading your scriptures. There's always the next day. You can start over at any point in time. So what motivates me? So if I have, because I'm not perfect at this, I have to maintain my weight every single day. It's a battle I will live with till I die. So I will share, this is how I keep myself motivated. I have, let's see here. I have a picture on my fridge.
Oh, okay.
Does it show anything? Mine is actually just went blank.
No, not yet.
No, we don't see your fridge, but can we assume that it's a picture that we've already seen?
Nope. Okay, there.
Uh-oh. Here comes a picture on a fridge strategy.
Which one is it? Here? Okay.
Oh, we heard the tech in the background.
Yeah, he's my
There
IT
we
guy.
go.
He's an IT guy, and I am not. Okay, so this is a picture of at my healthiest. I have this on my fridge. So anytime I walk to my fridge to go get something to eat, I see this every single day, probably 20 times a day. And so if I want to go get an extra snack or something that maybe isn't quite healthy, she's staring at me. And this is exactly how I want to be always. So I took a picture of me at my healthiest. This was probably, I'm guessing, 2 or 3 years ago that I was doing more of the weightlifting. And so that's my motivation. On the other hand, the first picture I showed you of my before is a picture that is laminated in my purse. And so I can say, do I really want to look at that? Or, hey, look, I've looked like this before. I need to get back to that. And so if you fall off, have motivated pictures. Get you at your best. And so you see you at your best, and that you remind yourself and know that the next day you can start over. Every single day you can start over. This is not going to be a perfect journey for anybody. And so just like if you fall off of reading your scriptures, start new the very next day. Does that answer your question, Grant?
It did. You did a great job. And I see that President Childs has put his cookie down. Oh, he's downloaded the app. Of course, his wife had to help him, but that's okay.
That's okay. Okay. So let's talk about food choices. So food is not necessarily the enemy, even chocolate chip cookies, because you're going to want to treat yourself every once in a while. It's not the enemy, but it depends on what you're eating. So everyone here, has anyone heard the term, I'm sure, of clean eating? Does anybody know what clean eating is? Did I see a hand over there, President Childs? No one's heard the term. Okay, so clean, somewhat, I see a hand.
Gabrielle has.
Okay, so clean eating is basically whole foods that don't have any processed sugar. You would be surprised, even the loaf of bread you're probably eating has processed sugar in it. So I try to keep, I'm gonna guess 70% of my meals clean. So if you look at the back of a box of something you're going to eat, it's probably most likely already processed because you're looking at a box. If it lists sugar as an ingredient, it is not clean. I don't care if it's pure cane sugar, sugar is sugar. I'm sure there's healthier versions of sugar, but if it's listed sugar as an ingredient, it's not clean. Also, if it's got more than about 5 or 6 ingredients, and if there's any ingredients that you cannot pronounce, it is not clean. So try in your eating to eat clean. So what do I eat in a day? That's another huge question people ask me. What are you eating? So I'm a very boring eater. My clean eating, it consists of a very small amount of different foods that I eat. Breakfast, it's usually probably a 4th cup of oatmeal with some Greek yogurt or a banana. Oatmeal in the morning is my go-to. I also do the Premier protein drinks. They're great to start, especially if you're an older woman as I am or older. Starting your day off with protein is almost a must to keep your weight in balance. And so those are the 2 things I kind of.
Kelly, where do you get those?
Premier protein
Kelly,
at Walmart. Or you
Okay,
can, I'm a big Amazon girl. And so I can just order them off Amazon, but Walmart, any local grocery store, they're called Premier Protein. They've got chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. Stay away from the coffee ones. They've got all different types of flavors, but it's a great, I believe they're 160 calories, full of protein to get your day going. So that's
Excellent.
what yeah.
Good. No, we just want to make sure that the viewers and the members understand where they can go get some of this. And so that's a great resource. Excellent.
I mean, you can also find protein powders if you have the time to put them in a blender with your milk and ice, blah, blah, blah. There we go. Thank you. That's exactly what they are. Premier Protein. I've got 3 boxes worth in my fridge right now. So that's what they look like. They're very easy to find. Like I said, any store is going to carry them. But it's a great breakfast to start. I mean, even if you're not hungry, you should drink one, get the protein in you, get your metabolism going. If you're going to skip a meal, which I do occasionally, it's typically not breakfast. I would say dinner is probably the best meal to skip, so your body goes with no food throughout the night. But always try to eat something for breakfast. So for lunch, I work from home. Yeah.
Sister Klein, did you just say skip dinner?
Yes, I would skip dinner if you're going to skip a meal. Yes.
First you badmouth chocolate chip cookies and now skip dinner. What is wrong with you?
Hey, you know what? Goals. You've got goals, and that's just one way. The best way is skip a meal. And so if you can go, eat a hearty lunch, and then if you can skip dinner, it's the best meal to skip, not breakfast, but if you can skip dinner and go, I mean, we're fasters, right? I mean, we're used to skipping meals. And so for health reasons, for losing weight or getting healthy, if you wanted to drop some pounds, the best thing is to occasionally skip a dinner. So, but for lunch, I'm pretty constant. On Sundays, my husband barbecues a lot of chicken. So I'm eating grilled chicken breast, usually 5 ounces, and I'll scramble up 2 or 3 eggs for the low carb end of it. And so that is a typical lunch. I can eat it 5 days in a row and it doesn't bother me. Boring is fine for me. Dinners, usually 4 to 6 ounces of meat. We typically have a salad almost every night. And then occasionally we will have a carb, sometimes we'll even do some fries, just a small amount. So if you're going to have the carbs, eat small amounts, carbs does turn into sugar. So did you have a question, Grant?
No, you're doing great. Keep going.
So I wanted to share, this is another very important aspect of living a healthy lifestyle. It's planning.
Yeah, don't you don't have to answer the chat, Kelly. That's
Okay.
President Childs she's just trying to trip you up while you're talking. So just
It's all good.
keep going.
Okay, do you see my table full of food?
Woo!
Okay, so this is
That's one meal, Kelly. That's a lot of food for one meal.
This is called planning. So when we worked out of the home on the Sunday afternoon, I believe this is probably a 4 or 5 different meals, all completely clean eating. There's not 1 ounce of processed sugar in any of these, including my banana muffins that are sweetened with honey. So if you don't plan your meals, you're planning to fail. I guarantee it.
Mm.
If you wake up in the morning and say, oh, what's good for breakfast? You're going to find yourself eating probably bacon and biscuits and gravy. So you need to plan out your meal. I'm talking every single meal. So this is something that we would do on Sunday. So when we went to work, we would be able to go to the freezer, grab a meal that we already know is clean, take it with us. And you see the little trays. Those come from, the lean cuisines and the smart ones and whatnot. They're always good things if you're in a rush and you don't have time to plan. You can grab one of those. They are a good calorie count. And we do reheat our food in those. And I know that people say that that's bad, but we pick our battles. And so we like them because they're the right amount of food to eat. And so we just fill those up and I have a couple pages of recipes that all of this is in that I'm happy to share with anybody. I can email them if you reach out to Grant can be my secretary and let me know if anybody wants the recipes. They're great. They're easy to do. Most of them are in a crock pot, so you can cook them and then plan your day accordingly to your meals, which is extremely helpful. So important also, have a cheat meal. And that doesn't mean a cheat day, a cheat meal. And have that picked out. So if you're waking up Monday or Tuesday saying, oh, maybe today's my cheat meal, don't do that. Because then you're probably gonna have a cheat meal on Thursday and Friday and Saturday too. So know that you're going to plan that cheat meal and when it is. And for me, it's always best that it's a Friday or Saturday because that's the nights that we go out to dinner. And so I'm going to make sure that that meal that I'm going out to dinner is something that isn't something I cook at home and probably is going to be more fattening. And so plan that cheat meal. You need to let your body have some stuff that it really wants that you probably shouldn't be having, and let that include a dessert. Eat whatever you want. But it's one meal a day, not one whole day, which I tried before. It doesn't work. I've tried a lot. I've tried probably almost everything. And so the things I'm sharing with you are the things that have worked for me. So one of the questions I had put on there, Fran, is how do you control your eating when you go out to eat? As you know, the portions in restaurants are ludicrous. They're humongous. Especially if you go to a Mexican restaurant, you're getting the big old mambo plates and you've eaten your calories worth just in the chips and salsa to begin with.
Yeah.
So when you go out to eat, if that's not your cheat meal that was planned, eat a small, low carb meal per se before you go to eat. Do not go to that restaurant hungry because you are going to fail. So if it's not a cheat meal, go so you're semi-hungry. Now, with that said, I tried to explain to people how I used to eat when I was the 210 pounds. Do you know the term Thanksgiving full? You know, when you come away from Thanksgiving table, you need to go take a nap because you're in like food comatose. I used to eat every meal like that. I was Thanksgiving full every time I ate because I had to make sure I was full enough to get through to that next meal, that I would get full enough to get to that next meal. That is so wrong. It was the wrong thinking. So what I have learned, what I do now is two things. You know your dinner size plate. Go to the smaller plate. Go to your salad plate. So if you're having spaghetti or lasagna or something, put it on a salad plate. You'd be surprised at how much you don't really need to eat. Once you've finished half of that, put your fork down, set it aside, and ask yourself this. Am I still hungry? Or am I content? If you're content, walk away. You don't need any more. Your body does not need to have that I am full because now you've overeaten. And sometimes you're going to overeat before you even get that. So eat slowly, push your plate away halfway through and ask yourself, hey, am I just eating because it tastes so good or because I don't want to throw these leftovers or I don't want to have leftovers? Whatever the reason is, it's better to dump it, throw it away, than to eat it just to save face that you ate your food, because there's starving children everywhere, as your parents probably told you growing up. You don't have to finish your plate full. So just eat less. I can't just, you've got to eat less and you've got to exercise. So any questions right now as we're on the food end of it?
Kelly, so we've got about 8 minutes left. You've done great and given us a lot of great suggestions and ideas. I'm a little dismayed at the chocolate chip cookie thing. That'll take a couple of weeks to get over, but really great ideas. What I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, is we'll finish up this quick podcast by fielding questions from folks in the audience who may have some very specific questions to ask you, given your background and your clear success in managing that. And then I'd like you to just touch very briefly, if you could, on what you do as far as maintaining your healthy status. It's one thing to control our food, but I know your background is also in doing an exercise regime that you love so much. But let's first see if there are any questions from viewers. If there is, if you could use your electronic hand raising by going to the bottom of the screen, and you'll see a little thing that says reactions. If you click on that, you'll get a menu of little reactions that are appropriate for this recording. Pick on those, as President Childs is doing such a great job showing the example after he's done some helping us find some resources. So President Childs, what question do you have for our guest?
You talked a little bit about getting over, like if I made a mistake today and I can start again tomorrow. How do you focus on your goals so that if I stumble a couple of days, that I don't make that a routine? Oh, okay, I'll just get past this. I'm gonna have my chocolate chip cookie today, and I get in tomorrow and somebody just happens to bring me a plate of chocolate chip cookies. And I go, all right, I'll just have this, just one today. And there's always seems to be something that comes up. What is it that resets you so that you get back on track and say, okay, enough is enough, and how do you get back on track on that sort of a thing?
Well, I'm very self-disciplined, so it's very simple for me to answer that question is the scale. The scale helps me get back. If I step on down, like if I'm even 1 or 2 pounds over than I want to be, I am going set back. I need to start over again. And sometimes I have to do it monthly. I'm a pound over where I want to be. I get on that scale and that does it for me. That's all it takes for me to say, all right, you know what? That cookie does not taste as good as being able to fit into my size 6 pants comfortably. No way. Even the chocolate chip cookie that I love. Sometimes they don't look as appetizing if I'm a pound over where I want to be. So that's what I do. I get on the scale and I go from there. If I'm where I'm at, good, perfect. I may be able to have a treat extra. I'm at the point I'm maintaining now. I'm not at the, I need to lose. I think I've lost 70, 75 pounds. I'm not in that area anymore. I'm maintaining. And so I can eat a little bit more now than I did when I was in the process of losing the weight. And as Jennifer Kwan and I were talking earlier, losing weight is not easy, but it's so much easier than maintaining it. Once you get to that point, it is 10 times harder to stay there than it is to lose it. And so keep yourself accountable. They say weigh yourself once a week. No, get on that thing every day if you need to keep yourself accountable, because it's only you and you yourself that cares about how you feel, how you look, whether it's a health choice or a vain choice because you want to look better. It's up to you. I mean, it's always good to have people around you encouraging you, especially if you have someone that can do it with you. It's the best possible thing because you can hold each other accountable. But it's the scale that does it for me. That's how I get back on track.
So that's a new charge to our ministering brothers and sisters. I like that. Excellent. All right. Any other questions for Sister Klein as we wrap up this segment? And we can have her back. We can have her come back later on in our calendar. But are there any other questions that someone might have for Sister Klein relative to healthy living, healthy eating? She's given us some great tools. You saw the fitness tool that she provided that tracks your weight and your caloric intake. Are there any other questions, comments?
Question.
Yes.
Kelly,
Brother Kwan?
Kelly, would you say cutting out sugar would be the #1 thing to do?
Absolutely. Watch your carb count and cut out the sugars. And you believe it or not, you may go through withdrawals if you're cutting out the sugar. I don't know if you've ever tried to cut out soda. You're going to get some headaches. Your body, you probably eat way more sugar than you know you do if you're not looking at the boxes or the ingredient list that you're eating. I'm sure you're eating way more than you think you are. So yeah, cut out the processed sugar. Natural sugars are a different story.
Excellent.
Well, even I was just gonna say, even eating, drinking diet drinks, people will think, oh, well, there's no calories, but the chemicals and everything that are in it, it really messes up your body's ability to be able to process other things, and it will make it impossible to lose weight. So for myself, I eliminate all liquid sugar. I drink water. I would rather treat myself to a cookie once in a while and cut out the liquid sugar,
I have a rule, don't drink your calories.
Yep. Yep.
So we've hit on chocolate chip cookies, Diet Coke, or Dr. Pepper. I really made an error here today, folks. I have to admit, I brought on these heretics who are just going right at LDS culture, just hitting it right in the, excellent. Thank you for that. I see that Sister Zavarol raised her human hand versus the digital hand. So we'll let her wrap this up. Sister Zavarol?
Kelly, I need more motivation to exercise, to actually get out there and do something. I am just really amazed at all that you've been able to do that way. What gets you to move your body? Because it hurts to move your body and I don't want to. So how do you do that?
Find a buddy. Denise, as best I can say. You know, there's so many clubs out there now. If you go online, if you Google walking clubs, running clubs, there are so many of them. And I think if you have someone calling you up in the morning, say, hey, are we going? You're going to go, instead of waking up thinking, oh, I really don't want to go. I'm just going to go back to bed because I can. It's accountability. And I think if you have a walking buddy, jogging buddy, running buddy, if you're not type A, if you're not a self-motivator, have somebody there with you. And have someone on that journey with you that wants to be on the journey, because you're going to work with each other. When one doesn't want to do it, the other one will get you going. And I'm happy
Excellent
to exercise with
response.
you anytime. Call me up. I'm happy to go anytime with you.
Of course, Denise, you're going to have to run 483 miles the first day
there's no
out.
way.
You're gonna have to run to, you'll be running to Cuba or swimming to Cuba. So excellent. Well,
Just
Kelly,
going to her house will be a little too far for me. So
I can come to
those
you.
are all, yeah, all of those are excellent ideas. And thank you very much, Sister Klein, for your expertise. And we will we'll continue to track this, and probably in several months, we'll come back and have part 2 of this, because I think there's so much more that Kelly would love to share. And I think we all got a sense of her passion for healthy living. And boy, the before and after, those are sure strong testaments to your dedication. And perhaps later on, we can come back and have conversations about how do we do it as we age, because I know when you're 20, it's much easier to do some of this than, as you mentioned, when you turn 38 again. So that's really wonderful. But I appreciate you all being here, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your fast Sunday to be here. If there are any other questions, we can field those, and then I'll ask, is Brother Johnson still on? I thought I saw Brother Johnson when he may have dropped off. He was going to give us a closing prayer. Sister Cruz, is your husband by you? I noticed you were up and walking around. I wanted to see if Brother
He
Cruz,
is. He's right
could he
here.
offer us a closing prayer here in just a second? Any other questions for Sister Klein? I don't see any. Well, again, thank you, brothers and sisters, for joining us on this very short podcast. Thank you, Kelly, for all of the resources and ideas and thoughts that you had. We posted those in the chat. This recording will be available on the Carmichael Stake YouTube channel under Emergency Preparedness and Reliance. You'll see that within the week, and you can go back in there and watch the chat and grab those websites if you need to. So thank you very much, Brother Cruz. If you be so kind and end this meeting with a word of prayer, please.